My father... No, not really. I did spend a lot of time with my mother, but she saw me more like a protege than a daughter. What about you? What were your parents like?
Oh, I'm terribly sorry there, Street Rolls. Were you speaking just now? Skyrim Dawnguard, it kinda sucks. This expansion pack DLC hybrid is not all it could have been. Not even all it should have been. Is or was Dawnguard something worth having? Well, if you enjoyed the base game, then most certainly. Is or was it worth its price? That's subjective. Though it certainly left me wanting. This isn't a review proper, I'll just be going over the main meat of the content, the Dawnguards and Clan Volkihar's questlines respectively, and why those cuts of meat are equal parts fat and bone. Once you hit 10, the Orsimer Durak invites you to join the re-establishing of the Dawnguard to combat the vampiric menace, which manifests as the vampires attacking towns throughout Skyrim for... reasons. You know, it's never actually explained why they were doing this.
You're not paying attention then, like almost everyone else around here.
We arrive at Fort Dawnguard with one of the newly introduced characters in tow, noting that it's a complete dump that no one seems to care about, painting the impression that the DG's the underdog in this fight. The Dawnguard leader Isran is having a heart-to-heart with the Vigilant Ostendar survivor, a group that was just sort of there in the base game, and whose presence will likely be missed by no one. Almost immediately upon talking to Isran, he tells you to go clean up the mess the Vigilants left, which we do. And in doing so, happen upon the relatively attractive hot vampire babe, Serena. Okay. What? Serena wasn't enough pseudo-Old Norse? Serena has a few father issues, and indeed was sealed up for hundreds of years to keep her away from said daddy. So logically, the first thing to do is take her right on back to daddy. Something seems a little amiss here. Anyways, as thanks for bringing his daughter back, Lord Harkon, patron of the Volkihar vampires, offers you the chance to join his crew, or piss off. This is where the questline technically splits, going either with the Dawnguard or Clan Volkihar, but it doesn't truly make that big of a difference. In fact, it's pretty much only roleplay relevant. More on that in a bit. Attempting to cow the Dragonborn, Harkon reveals his true form or whatever. Yet for now, we will remain strong, resolute on the path of all that is right and goodness, not to be swayed with the promises of power or temptations of a moderately hot vampire babe.
So be it. You are prey, like all mortals. I banish you.
Well, that was kind of basic. Report back to Isran, who gets a little pissy about you arriving to the reasonable conclusion of hand-delivering everything the vampires are after right to them. He decides to get his old posse back together, but he's too busy doing fuck all, so he sends you out to do it. We have the typical quirky yet well-meaning technical expert Serene, Gunmar, who's a diet version of Isran, and the schizophrenic, though heavily implied not to be, Florentus. Now that the gang's all here, let's take a look at what makes the Dawnguard the Dawnguard. Well, they're fleshed out better than their Volkihar counterparts, even if that's not saying much. The foundation's all set for each of the characters, but it's not used to build to anything, which is a bit of a disappointment. I wasn't expecting dynamic and evolving characters, mind you, though I would at least expect some kind of plot development, or at the very least, plot importance, on their respective parts. See, none of them are really important to the story, besides by virtue of just being there. They pretty much say all that they have to say the first time you meet them, and that's about it. These three are involved in a few side quests, primarily just by being the quest givers for, and some of which help flesh out the vampire war going on, even if ultimately these quests don't amount to anything. Yeah, other than that, they don't contribute anything. No thoughts or insights to share on the developing story, no nothing. You could take any one of them, if not every one of them, out of the setting, and you would find nothing missing. Or still, the same is true for the Dawnguard itself. It's not important to the main story at all, and indeed, it disappears from the setting almost entirely after about the 4th quest, right up until the end, where the developers seemingly just remembered about it, and tossed them right back in. There's only 3 quests, side quests at that, which involve the vampire war that's supposedly raging on right now. And they're shit to boot. Oh, they had potential, but since they decided to make them all Radiants, some, sacrifices had to be made. One of them's a hunt down and kill quest, which are actually already possible with vampires in the base game, so I don't know whether you want to count that or not. The second has you rescuing someone close, often a spouse if available, that has been kidnapped by a vampire. Now, as vampirism is a plot device, it's reasonable to anticipate some fascinating shit's about to go down. It's not like, oh, I know not, the vampire could have turned the abductee, forcing you to put them down, or otherwise held their life over your head to make it comply with the vampire's demands. Or anything. Who do you think made this game? No, this one's just ripped right from the Companion's questline. Pro tip for any of you aspiring game developers out there. Always remember the 3 R's of programming. The last, and certainly most least of the vampire quests, has one of the buggers infiltrating a Jarl's court. It needs ousting or otherwise surreptitious removal. Sounds good, but there's barely anything to this. Not just difficulty-wise, no. It's ridiculously short. Sitting through the load screens takes more time than it does to do the quest. What, mate? Were you expecting something gratifying? The Dawnguard, as a whole, can be likened to mushy dog crap. It looks as if something's there. It feels like you're about to get a grip on it, but then the moment you try to actually interact with it, it just falls apart in your hand and crumbles all over the place. It's disgusting. Forgive me if I'm sounding a little uncouth. This whole vampire versus vampire hunter war thing was supposedly one of the cornerstones of this DLC. It's the only real relevancy the Dawnguard itself has, as well as its source of agency, since it has nothing to do with the main plot. The vampires are supposed to be this malevolent and corrupting force sweeping the land like a plague, while the Dawnguard, with questionable ethics and sketchy history, stand bulwark against them. A dicey prospect for Skyrim, made all the more tenuous, as they're the only ones proven to be able to face the threat. Yet narratively, this entire angle is only truly present in the very stretched imaginations of role players, and the Dawnguard lacks both the characters and substance to truly stand on its own. It really starts to take you out of it all, is what I'm trying to say. Truly, the only justification I found for the Dawnguard's being is because its name's in the title. It's as if either the vampire story was made first, and they just decided to cobble together an imposing force, thinking it would help in some way, or someone felt very proud of sticking these two words together, and everyone was so impressed, they just shoehorned an appropriately themed faction in. Ezron's easily the most significant element of the Dawnguard, and really is the only thing giving it any actual life. A pretty cool character if fairly one-dimensional. He's one of the strongest characters in the game, and perhaps the second best in regards to the newly added ones of this expansion. Even so, he pales in comparison to Serana. Serana is clearly where all of the effort and character development went, which seem to be finite resources as far as Bethesda's concerned. With an evolving character arc and expansive dialogue, she's certainly the most human out of all the characters. I'm not going to cover too much about her or go in depth on her character to any degree. Just know that she's a fully three-dimensional character, standing above, well, virtually all others in Skyrim. Even impressive characters like Astrid and Mercer Frey. Serana hooks back up with you soon enough, and is willing to help you stop the dark prophecy Lord Harkon seeks to bring about. She begins traveling with you from now on, pretty much permanently while doing the main quest. I will make mention of this on her. If there's one thing you'll notice about Serana, it's that she likes to complain. A lot.
This must be that beautiful Skyrim weather I've always heard about. Let's move faster. The sun is... It's not great for my skin, if you know what I mean. I'm no fan of the sun, but it would be better than this. Let's get indoors. Or in a cave. Anywhere, just out of this. So this is the grand tour of Skyrim's caves that you're showing me?
Alright, well, it's not really that bad. Or at least truly incessant enough to be so. However, when it's the only other thing Shirley does, it makes it a bit more noticeable, is what I'm saying. Something else which is kinda cool, I guess, is that while you're on the main quest, she'll make quips to remind you of where to go next, if you're screwing around for too long. Almost feels like you're actually traveling with someone. That's so... she does kinda remind me of something. Someone. I just can't quite put my finger on it. Before you know it, you're chasing after some moth priest. Because moths are related to the Elder Scrolls, I guess.
Well, as I'm sure you figured out by now, it's no mere coincidence that we're named moth priests. Oh, the moths don't literally read the scrolls, but they maintain a connection to ancient magic that allows the moth priests to decipher them.
Whatever you say, buddy. Just read the damn thing. So he reads the scroll for you, but of course it barely tells you anything useful. Say that you have to go get the other two scrolls. Wondrous. We return to Castle Volkihar in search of Serana's vampire milf of a mother, who's also in hiding from Harkon. Clearly, his backyard's the best place to do so. The castle itself is more expansive than the Dawnguard's fort, but there's nothing to it, lore or otherwise. I do find it amusing that the stronghold of the strongest vampire clan is a ruined shithole. Here's a question for you all. When attempting to exploit the nostalgia of your fanbase to make the most out of your content, what criteria do you believe should be met? For its part, Bethesda believes it's something that the vast majority of its current fans know nothing about. Most of its current staff probably know nothing about. And those fans and staff that do, couldn't care less for. Enter the Soul Karen. You remember the Soul Karen, right? That one level of that one game you probably weren't even aware of until just now? I know not why they decided to dredge this up, of all places. As far as I know, it's not been mentioned once since Battlespire or the Ideal Masters, but here it is. What joy. Oh, but the nostalgia bombs just keep dropping. You ready for this? Here's Jib. That's right, the first person you're ever introduced to in Morrowind. And that's pretty much all he's known for. Truly, Bethesda knows how to tug at the memories of fondly remembered days gone by. In all seriousness, the Soul Cairn is actually a pretty well done place. Good atmosphere and aesthetics, if a bit sparse. The mobs within leave something to be desired, as they're little more than recolored skeletons you've encountered 100 times before. The only real problem is that going through it the first few times can be a pain in the ass. It's not exactly an expansive location, but it can be a bit confusing to navigate, and the local map sucks ass. Valerica is found at the end of the Soul Cairn. She has a quaint mother-daughter reunion with Serana, and reveals her attempts to enter Congress with the Ideal Masters, but ended up getting dicked over by them instead. Who could have seen that happening? Now, Valerica is interesting. She's the only one that brings up the concept of the vampires being a people. You know, a kindred kind and all that. Even admonishing the Dragonborn for being a vampire hunter, which she somehow just knows. It seems they are going to use her to push the story in another direction, but ended up doing nothing with it. For, as it is, this is a rather contrite and empty concept of persecution, as none of the other vampires beforehand give nothing but reasons to kill them. There's a bit more to this, but it's better to go over it on the Volkihar side. Anyways, you free her, then fight an undead dragon who gives you this fuck off instant kill shout. Pick up the scroll you need, go to Blackreach to get the base game scroll if you haven't already, or buy it back to Urag if need be, which is a bit of a dick move. Asshole even makes you pay for it if you're Guildmaster. Return to the mouthpiece Dixion to find out he fucked up so badly he's blind now, and that you have to read the scrolls yourself, using moths. Haul ass to the next new location that was just copy-pasted into Skyrim, with Serana's own little hoity-toity ass in tow to keep us company.
Not very impressive, is it?
Look, woman, it's freezing out. What do you...
If this ends up being a wasted trip, your friend Dexian and I are gonna have some words when we get back.
Oh. Never you mind then. Let's just carry on. Perform the ritual to, read the Elder Scrolls. I guess that's what's going on. They opted for a, shall we say, minimalistic visual representation of what's happening. You might have other words for this. Like cheap. But whatever, we find out where to go next. Somehow, Volkihar vampires just randomly know where we are and set up an ambush. Or at least that's what's supposed to be happening. This is like the 10th bug I've ran into, I believe. Some minor, others very critical. I've had to reload once already and now have to use the console commands in order to progress. I mean, I'm playing the newer special edition. I'm just shocked. I've never had a playthrough this smooth before. I think they actually fixed the game up. Follow the scrolls to the next new location that was just copy-pasted into Skyrim, known as Darkfall Cave. Now, Bethesda, not content enough with its dredging up of old, forgotten trash that no one cares about, has a little surprise for us at the end of the cave. The first ever in-game snow elf. Knight Paladin Gelibor has a little fratricide on his mind, tasking the Dragonborn with the elimination of his brother Verthur, who's been corrupted by the Falmor or something. Ooh, this is new. What a mysterious and enchanting location to explore. Like what you see? Well, tough shit. It lasts for all of 2 minutes before it's back to Skyrim snow. Seriously. They may as well have not even bothered with any of this. Berthur's fought at the end of Disappointment Road. Turns out he's a vampire himself, and was the one who orchestrated the prophecy in the first place, in hopes of luring a daughter of Cold Harbor to him. Which Serana is, and whose blood he needs to get back at the god who scorned him. Rest assured, it's all very masterfully done. Really, the whole story comes together right here. Everything makes complete sense and has a purpose. Except for the Dawnguard. Serana herself is not too happy about this revelation.
Stay dropping now! Just tell me who can help me!
This time for someone with my blood to come along. Well, too bad for you. I intend on keeping it. Let's see if your blood has any power to it.
Now, the lead up to Berthur has some truly cool elements to it. Stuff that really isn't anywhere else in the base game. Once you're done with him, regrettably, there's nothing truly spectacular within the fight itself. Once you're done with him, drop his broken body before Gelibor to be rewarded with the final piece of the prophecy, Ariel's bow. Now, we have the bow, and we have Serana, both of which are needed to fulfill said prophecy. The obvious next course of action? Take them both right on to Harkon. We have some next level tacticians here. Rally up the Dawnguard for their 15 minutes of fame and really the first thing most of them's done to assault Castle Volkihar. Some of them may die, but don't worry, you won't miss them. I certainly didn't. This final battle's actually fairly good. The members of Clan Volkihar proper charge out to meet the Dawnguard, while their gargoyle minions spring to life around you to join in their assault. It's really the only time you actually feel like you're fighting the other side. I'm not saying the expansion should have only just been this, but it certainly needed more of it. Harkon himself is found chilling at his Moloch ball altar. He and his daughter exchange a few pleasantries before shit goes down.
I'm done with you. You will not touch him.
So, I see this dragon has fangs. Yes, quite. I'm growing weary of speaking to you and my traitorous daughter. I'll give you a single chance to turn over the bow to me. There will not be a second.
What? Yeah, okay. Here you are, mate.
Pitiful. Simply pitiful. I expected more from the defiant fool that beguiled my daughter. No matter. Serana will sacrifice her blood for the sake of the prophecy, and I will feast upon yours in Molag Ball's honor.
Oh. Yeah, so I didn't get this part. After they're done, Harkon just, out of nowhere, tells you to give him the bow. Like, what? He doesn't offer you anything. He doesn't even really demand it, as there's no threat or anything involved. There's really no implied threat, seeing as how you just rode a fucking murder train through his entire clan. It's his back that's to the wall. He more or less just asks you for it. It's just so weird. I had to go back and give him the bow to see if anything comes of it. Nothing does. It just makes the fight against him a little longer. As far as Skyrim boss battles goes, his is one of the best. It has some actual flair within the fight itself. It truly feels like you're confronting a powerful being. Eventually, Harkon falls into a pile of blood dust. Izran, who I kind of figured might play a part in this final confrontation, was apparently just standing outside this entire time, and runs in at the last minute. Serana laments while Izran reaffirms the Dawnguard's new purpose. Didn't realize they had one before. He then goes on to accept Serana for the reasonably hot vampire babe that she is, finally able to let a little of that hatred go and move on. Oh, whoa! That's almost 2 whole character arcs right there. How did they fit so much content into one expansion? Oh, man. Maybe I should have done this video. Dawnguard's done by this point, yet it's not finished. Let's go back and accept Harkon's gift to, get the second half of this story.